Can thyroid drugs impact bone health?
Definitely. So go ahead.
Well, you know, I'm looking at the time, and it's like we have like so many questions. So yes, okay. So thyroid drugs can impact bone health. Do you want to say something more about that?
I do, just
Okay.
real quick.
Okay.
I'll answer each one of these questions really, really quickly, I hope.
Okay.
But a change happened, I would say maybe 5 years ago, in endocrinologists who deal with thyroid problems. And they used to say, okay, it was okay to go to, on the TSH, it was okay to go, usually just keep it at 1.0. But then they changed and said, okay, 0.5 is okay. And now they even say even lower than 0.5 is okay. And that's not okay. You actually need TSH for osteoblastic activity. Most people think that, oh, the TSH, all that is just an indices for thyroid function. No, the TSH is actually important for the osteoblast. And so I like to keep TSH at 1.0 to 1.5, around that.
Okay. Let's just do a fast thing. Osteoblast, osteoclast, it's a terminology that we're using. Let's just do a basic 101 on that.
Osteoblasts are cells that form bone, which actually is opposite. You would think an osteoblast is breaking down things, but it's not. Osteoblast builds up bone, and the osteoclast tear down bone. And the osteoblast actually talk to the osteoclast and vice versa, but the osteoblasts tell the osteoclast to break down more or less bone. Okay. So what happens is a person gets a little microfracture. The osteocyte, the third cell, senses the little bitty microfracture. It sends out signals to through the blood, and then that calls in a lot of osteoclasts, and they attack that area of fracture in what's called a basic multicellular unit. Those osteoclasts dig out the fracture. Then as soon as they're done digging it out, 10 or so osteoblasts come in and form new bone.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. That was helpful. Parathyroid in bones.
I see it all the time, actually. And this is really important because the reference range for serum calcium, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, is I think 8.6 to 10.4. If a person has osteoporosis, that reference range should be different. That reference range should be 8.6 to 10.0. And if the person has osteoporosis and they have a 10.1, we'll say for the serum calcium, they must have a parathormone, a PTH test done. And the reason why is because the parathyroid glands are 4 little glands in your neck, and they are very commonly have one of them or so gets a little bit out of control and gets a benign tumor and produces a lot of parathormone. So parathyroid hormone actually ramps up osteoclastic activity because those glands sense how much calcium is in the blood. If they sense that there's not enough blood there and not enough calcium there, then the parathyroid glands pump out parathormone, breaks down more calcium by the osteoclast, and then blood calcium levels rise. But if there's a tumor in there, just too much parathormone is being produced, and PTH will increase. And they say that the reference range is, I think, 15 to 64 for PTH. That's not true either. For a person for osteoporosis, it should just be up to 50. So you can have a 55 on a PTH and a 10.1 on a serum calcium, and we might have a problem, even though both of those tests, the serum calcium and the PTH, are both in normal range. But that person, like I said, even if there's a 10.1 serum calcium, a 55, or even a 50 PTH, they need to be checked for a parathyroid hormone, a parathyroid gland increase.
So it's the bear in the woods again. I mean, it's just really digging down.
Yeah.
Got to keep doing that. Okay, trabecular bone score, is that going to happen?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll see.
Trabecular
I mean, it is actually available somewhat.
Yeah.
How accurate, I'm not sure.
Okay, so trabecular bone score is to look at the inner quality of the bones. Yeah.
It's our first step at looking at quality.
Okay. So we talked about CTX. One participant asked if she could lower her CTX from 1499 naturally.
She is not. It's not really 1499.
Okay.
Probably 14. Her CTX is 1499, but it needs
1449. Excuse me.
But that's not the number to look at. She needs to look at another number on her lab sheet, and that is as it is in ratio to creatinine.
Okay.
That's the number she needs to look at. The 1400 is not that doesn't mean anything.
Okay. So it's the percentage.
Yeah. As it relates in ratio to creatinine. So there should be three numbers. There should be the CTX number, the creatinine number, and the CTX creatinine ratio.
Okay. Are you familiar with the RIFE machine, RIFE?
Nope.
Okay. How about vibrational platforms? Has there been enough work on those for osteoporosis?
There has been, and I've talked to Clinton Rubin from SUNY in New York several times on the phone, and actually once in person. And 18 years ago, he actually gave me one of the first vibration platforms ever made, and I stood on that thing for a year, and didn't do me any good. But that's because I'm an athlete already. I don't need vibration. I've already had vibration, but it was a good thought. I thought it was really nice of him to give to me. I think he has gone through, they went through turkeys and sheep and people. And I think even he would say he's not completely sure. I think I would recommend certain vibration platforms on people who have MS or muscular dystrophy, or somehow they can't go to the gym. But if they can go to the gym and exercise, do that.
Okay. Weighted vests?
I would laugh at that and say that's crazy. But when I go to a seminar, an osteoporosis seminar, everybody is thinking they're the best thing since sliced bread. So I don't have quite an opinion formed yet, but maybe I'm totally wrong to say that they don't work. But there's a lot of people behind them. To me, I want to exercise and have fun. And if I'm wearing a vest, I'm not going to have fun. They're hot, they're heavy, they're uncomfortable. To me, I want to exercise and have fun. So if you can exercise and have fun and have the weight vest on, then it's not going to hurt you unless you have too much on and then you load yourself too much. Then you can get a compression fracture. Right. We're using that much, but so I'm sorry, but I don't have a good opinion.
There are a lot of people that asked about body mass and how can they, one in particular was asking, how can she build her body mass as a vegetarian?
Depends how old. Well, if you're a vegetarian, that's a tough question. We are not vegetarians by genetics. We are omnivores, and we're not herbivores. So it's really hard. And as we get older, we have what's called splanchnic sequestration, and where I'm probably not saying that properly, but it's where our splanchnic organs, mainly our gut and our liver, actually take in amino acids and harbor them and don't allow them to go out and have us build protein from it. So especially leucine and phenylalanine, and I can't remember what else. But it not only as we get older, do we end up having more chronic systemic inflammation and all kinds of problems from that, but we also have that decreased ability to make protein. And if we are now adding on to that a totally vegetarian diet, I don't think that's wise.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I was suggesting, or my initial thought was adding a lot more fat to her diet. Coconut
The amino
fat.
acids in the protein, though. I mean, you
Pardon me?
you still need amino acids.
Yeah, right.
You can get some, good branch chain amino acid formulas. So
Hmm.
maybe just go with that. But
Okay.
strict vegetarian with no dairy, no eggs, then I think it's hard.
Okay. So that's more of a vegan, and this brings up the other question: is dairy necessary for strong bones?
No.
Okay. And so can you increase your bones without dairy?
Definitely.
Yes. And lactose intolerance. So that's just speaking about the dairy. Are there studies that show dairy is not necessary for bone health?
Yeah, sure. I don't think I mean, I personally, I like goat instead
Hmm.
of cow, because I think the goat protein molecule is much more akin to the human.
Right.
So I mean, it depends on why you're being dairy free. But if you're being dairy free because you're lactose intolerant, you can still deal with that. But also, the goat is a lot better assimilated, so I would
Hmm.
try that. But if both goat and bovine irritate, you don't want to be constantly throwing something into your gut that's causing inflammation, because that's the cause of osteoporosis. It's an immune system that's going to run amok, and if you're constantly adding more fuel to the fire with digestive issues, you're just going to have worse. Rankle is the one
Knew
thing.
you were gonna slick that rankle.
The
Gotta say rankle. Okay.
rankle is one of the most important chemical messengers that we have in our body that stimulates the osteoclast. We have all kinds of cytokines, interleukin 1, interleukin 6, tumor necrosis factor, and they all stimulate this rankle to stimulate the osteoclast. And every single time you do something to add inflammation to your body, like if you're lactose intolerant or if you're gluten sensitive or whatever, or if you just have digestive issues, you're going to increase inflammation, chronic systemic inflammation. That's going to stimulate the osteoclast.
So ultimately, what was the reason for your osteoporosis? Did you find that out?
Whoa, that's a big question. Do we have another hour? We have 3 minutes. I mean, in a nutshell, I am sensitive to gluten. I'm not gluten intolerant. I can eat anything and not feel bad. I'm not celiac. But I really think that my biggest problem was, besides being gluten sensitive, that I trained really, really hard. I trained since I was 5 years old. I ran, I swam, I did everything, and I didn't take care of myself the way I should have. And so I had a huge production of free radicals, oxidative stress, which increased inflammatory things, and that stimulated many, many, many years of osteoclastic activity. So when I brought that down, I mean, when I first started out, my N-telopeptide, which is a bone resorption marker, was 123. So I brought that down naturally with no drugs down to 50. With drugs, I can bring it down to 30, but I started off 123. So that's how much osteoclastic activity I had going on initially.